to this computer. Okay, so we're doing the JavaScript 30 exercises. I don't know if there's anybody new here this week that didn't come the past few weeks. We're working through JavaScript 30. The website's javascript30.com, but we're doing it in React. And today I'm actually putting a little spin on it. So we're doing array cardio day 1. And Wes Boss, if you watch the video or if you've done this before, he just console logs all the exercises, but we're gonna render all the data in tables. I think it might be fun. So, so we're gonna do that. So there's Wes Boss's GitHub. There's a JavaScript 30 GitHub for people that don't know. And before we get started, anybody have any questions or comments? Anything about last week? If you're here last week, also, I noticed I haven't been sharing my LinkedIn. I just assumed a lot of people were connected, and then I realized some people are actually new that are coming to the meetups. So if you want to connect on LinkedIn, that's my LinkedIn. Also, if you're not in the Slack that we use, I made a Slack called Developer Army. I don't know why I just make up all these names on the fly. That's why they're kind of generic names. Junior Developer Happy Hour, Developer Army. Those are some links. And if nobody has any questions, I'm gonna get started. So we do the exercises in Code Sandbox, and the way we do it is just click New Sandbox. I'm gonna give you the link so you can join in my sandbox. You can also fork it if you wanna work on your own, but if you wanna join in and mob program with us, here's this link, putting it in the chat. Then we can all type in the same like code editor. Actually, let's see. Okay. See you guys popping in. I'll copy some of this JavaScript. I'm just gonna pop this in here. Okay, and does anyone want to volunteer? What I want to do first before we do the array exercises is I want to render the inventor's data in a table on the screen. Does anybody want to volunteer to try and do that, or do you want me to just do that part to get us started? What do you guys think? Any votes? 0 votes. Okay, I'm just gonna do it then, unless somebody volunteers in the next 10 seconds. You guys can all hear me, right? Can I get at least a thumbs up that you can hear me? I'm not even sure if you can hear me.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. It's okay.
Okay, if I wasn't sure because it was just complete silence even in the chat.
Sound good. We're feeling bashful.
Okay.
I have to be muted because my puppy is playing with a toy that's really loud.
Okay. So let's just render some HTML. Let's see. Stuff. I don't know. So, and stop me if it looks like I'm typing anything wrong. Oh, this shouldn't go in there. I'm just kind of winging it. I'm just going with a vanilla JavaScript table. So let's see. So let's actually see what we got here. So we got inventors. So the headings are going to be first, last, year, and past. So let's change this to actually be what this is. Inventors, and then I'm going to do inventors object keys inventors. And if you have questions while I'm typing about like what the hell am I doing or anything like that, just let me know. I'm not even sure if what I'm doing is making sense. Let's do key. So, let's see. That didn't work. Let's see what I did. Inventors, object.keys, inventors. Why is it 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Oh, I need to just grab like one of the inventors and strip out the keys. So that's probably not the best way to do it in production, right? But I don't know, people who've been here, I haven't been writing production code. We're kind of just hacking. It's not, I'm gonna just pull out one of the inventors like that and see how I got first, last, year, past. But that's not super robust way to do it in production, because what if your inventors was an empty array, right? Then this would explode because there is no object at object 0. So probably not the best way to do it, but it works for what I'm trying to do. Let's put like some border on the table just so we can see the boundaries of the table. Let's see. Anybody know the simplest way to add the border on the table? CSS table border. Let's see. Let's see. Let's do NDN. That's always good. Styling. Table layout fix.
Probably border 1 pix auto, MX auto.
Let's just copy this. Border 3 solid pixel. Sounds good to me. Let's see. Where is it? Table. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Let's try. Better. Let's do, what if we only do this? How do we get rid of the spacing? Let's see. Let's see. Does anybody have any? I haven't done a like vanilla table in a long time.
What are you trying to get rid of?
I just want to make it so there's just border around the boxes, but I don't want the spaces.
Maybe trying with border collapse.
Yeah, borders collapse. I think my border collapse, which I believe was at the very top where you had originally extracted the information.
Let's just copy all of it. Let's see. So let's do. Boom. Thank you. See, I don't know what I'm doing, even though I've been doing this for 8 years. Okay, so let's see. So that's the headers. Now I want to render the rest of the stuff. So we can do inventors dot map, and then how are we gonna do this? Wait, let me think about it. Inventors. So we got to do table.
Probably want to loop over it.
Yeah. So inventors that map, and then we can destructure each thing. First, last. What else was in there? Year and past. Past. And then we'll do table row. And then, oh, wait a
Past
minute.
is PSSED. PSS.
Oh,
Yeah, PASSED.
oops. Thanks.
No
Okay.
problem.
So then we do TD, I believe. And then we do first. So good enough. We don't need to make it pretty. At least. Oh. Okay, so I got everybody on the screen. It's not super easy to read, but we can make it nice later if we can do that stripe tables thing, or we can clean it up later. Let's actually get into the array exercises now. But before we do that, any questions about what I just did, or comments or questions to render the inventors on the page? No?
No.
Okay. So does anybody want to volunteer to do the first one? What I'm thinking is we write a function. So we complete this part to write a function that can filter inventors who are born in the 1500s. Man, I can't even speak today. So we're gonna write that filter function, and then to verify that it works, I'm thinking that we like put a button on the top that just says filter or something, and then when you push it, it will execute that function and only render the filtered inventors. I keep saying investors. So we can set it to a variable called like filtered inventors, and then we'll just have some kind of like Boolean flag that says show filtered inventors or something. So we can use the use state callback. So we're like introducing some hooks now, so people who are new to like hooks can see how to do some state, and then we can do some button interaction so that when you click the button, and then we're also getting practice doing like filtering arrays. Does anybody want to volunteer to do any part of that part? Like even just write the function to do the filter? Or
Do you have to know how to write the function to do the filter to volunteer?
you can try and we can just help you do it if you have trouble. You want to try? Or you want me to just do it?
Now, I just haven't really used the array functions before. So, you know what? I'll just, just stay quiet.
Okay, wait, you want to try or you don't want to try?
No, I'm good. Sorry.
Okay. Anybody else want to try? Going once?
I'm not linked in, but so I'll watch. But basically, you want to create a for loop, or you want to loop through and just confirm if.
We want to do this question first. So I want to make like a const filtered inventors and I want to set this. I want to use this. We want to practice using this filter function for arrays. So we want to do inventors dot filter something. Does anybody want to do this, or do you want to see me do it? Oh, who is that?
Me.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna tag you in. Which is your username on Code Sandbox?
Oof.
Are you on Code Sandbox?
I'm looking inside, but I don't know where do I see it.
It's under viewers. Or like
Dev, it's devxard.
Dev XARD. Are you on this page? The live link.
Now I went back to see.
I don't see you there.
Oh.
Okay. I guess I can just do it unless you got your username wrong. I don't see any dev.
Oh, 1 second. Am I in now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay, you should be able to type now. Just come onto line 70.
Okay,
Are you able? Yep, I see your cursor. There you go.
Okay, so just look at the
So
inventor. What do we want to do?
We want to filter inventors who were born in the 1500s. I guess year means the year they were born. So we only, right now we're showing all the inventors, even the ones who weren't born in the 1500s.
So basically, we just want to destructure the year.
No, we want to filter the list. So we don't want the whole array of inventors. We only want the array of, because try to comment this out. Do you see right now we're showing all the inventors, even the ones that were born not in the 1500s. So after we filter, we should only have Galileo, Johannes Kepler, and that's it. Those are the only ones in 1500. So how do we?
You're gonna have to access the object inventor and take the year, and then check if it's smaller or equal to using during 1500.
So we get inventor and
inventor dot year. Yeah.
Here is
inventors should be without an S. And then inventor in the variable you're passing in also needs an R.
Yeah.
So OR.
Smaller or equal.
Is less vertical than
opposite 1500.
No, it's
greater than.
It's the other way. Yeah.
1600.
Oh, you're doing it that way. Okay. And
is bigger or equal than 1500.
So I just saved it. So when you save it, automatically formats it.
Yeah.
So that's almost right, except you don't include 1600 because that's not included in the 1500s. So
1599.
one more thing we can do to clean it up, you can destructure it. I think it's a little bit more readable. So you can just do year, then you just do this. So generally it's just less code. And I think I usually destructure it unless it's like deeply nested property. Like since it's just one level deep, I find it still easy to understand.
I
Like,
was thinking about that in the beginning, but I it's kind of nervous to talk in front of other people.
yeah, I mean, that's why I can't type either. That's why I can't even pronounce the words when I'm talking. It is hard to like try to code and talk at the same time. I know what you're saying. So it's good practice to like come and do this because you're gonna have to do this in interviews and stuff too, right? So
Exactly.
Excuse me for asking, folks. I'm a little new to coding. What does
Yep.
destructuring mean?
Okay, so it's a newer JavaScript feature that never existed before. It just means that when you're like iterating, like we're doing like a loop through. So these are also, let me backtrack a little bit. The thing that we're practicing today are all these array methods that are used to manipulate arrays. So there's like filter, map, like if you go to array MDN, there's like a whole bunch of methods on an array that you can do. And the most popular ones are the ones that we are working with today. There's filter, map, sort, reduce. It's just a way to manipulate an array of things. It could be an array of strings like this, or we're working with an array of objects. And when you're destructuring an object, it just means you're destructuring the object. So
You're like pulling values from an object.
Yeah, we're pulling out just certain values because we don't need the whole inventor object. We only need the year. And before destructuring was introduced into JavaScript, which is like 5 years ago or something, I forget exactly when, you have to do it the way that, what was your name again?
Pavlin.
The way that he did it, where he just said inventor, and then in the code we have to say inventor.year, inventor.year. It's a little more verbose that way. So this is, since destruction was introduced, it makes it a little easier. And I recommend this course if you want to get more information. This one, JavaScript arrays on execute program, super good. There's that. It'll go over all of destructuring and it'll explain everything. It also, I forget if that's the one that explains everything. One of the courses in here, there's a bunch of courses, let's see. It might be modern JavaScript. So either modern JavaScript or JavaScript arrays explains the destructuring more detailed. And so execute program's good. There's also exorcism. There's exorcism. If you go to, let's see, it's like somewhere in here. There's JavaScript. It's under ES6, I think. I don't know. You can try to look at it later. I'll post this. There's like a modern JavaScript course on here. I'm not sure if they just combined it now into this JavaScript one. They got mentors on here and stuff. So I've done all those courses already. So
Awesome.
any other questions?
Thank you so much, Sam. And especially Pavlin, thank you for being a great sport, man. That was awesome. The typing and the coding.
I can type the next one if you'd like. You do that.
Yeah. You want to type? Should we go through the array methods though? Let's see if it works. Let's.
Right.
I can. You want to set up the button, or you want me to set up the button?
Because I don't know React. Like I can set up the button, but if you're gonna put state on it, then you'd have to teach me that.
Let me do the state part.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
Okay, so you used filter to filter out the year, right? So that you now have you have entries with this condition.
Yep.
Why not just do that in the map? Couldn't you have done the same thing with map?
Let's see.
Probably
Do
putting a
map.
condition on it.
Yeah. You probably
Yeah,
could.
filter, you
Let's-
just give it a boolean and it does everything else. It returns an array with
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, maybe if we console log it, he can see what's the return, you know.
It wouldn't be exactly the same in map. You would have to, you would, oh no, in map, we would actually, that wouldn't work for this because then map is a one-to-one transformation. So
Right? It'll
we
be the
would be,
same length.
map is when you want to transform each item into a different thing.
Oh,
That's not the
okay.
use case that we want. So like if you wanted to just map only the years, that would be a perfect case for a map, because then we would transform each object into just years and then we could render the years. But that's not what we're doing. We're taking
If you
an
want to,
array and then we only want a subset of the items in the array.
Mhm.
So let's actually go through and just console log things because we only have like 26 minutes left. I can stay a little past 9, but I'm noticing maybe I was a bit too ambitious to think we could add on all this extra stuff. So let's just console log things like West Boss did. And then if we have time, then we can start rendering and adding in the buttons like I was planning to do. First of all, let me get rid of these warnings just so there's like less noise on the page. So we can, if there's problems, it's easier to debug. So it's saying X child in the list should have a key because I didn't put a key on these things. So let's just do key equals, let's just do key. I think it'll be fine. And then let's do
You forgot the other closing. Oh, is it? Oh, never mind. Never mind. Go ahead. Go ahead.
key, and then let's do, I don't know, first. Let's just concatenate them. No, first. That should be unique, I think. Oh, what did I do? Okay. TH cannot appear in
T body.
T body.
Yeah.
What is that?
So in your markup, you're gonna need, oh, you have T body. Yeah.
So in T head, it must be TD, or does it go in the table row? Let's see. I don't even remember how to write a table. Let's go back to this page, see what it looks like. So I got to put it in a T row. I forgot. So this should be.
Oh yeah.
So let's see if we got rid of the errors. Oh, that didn't work. What did I do wrong? T. This thing. The stupid Zoom thing's getting in the way. Okay. Table. Oh, because each thing has to go under a T head. So we have to do Okay,
Maybe
let's just
the PR should be outside of the loop.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you. See. Oops. This should go back on the. Boom, we're back. Let's see. Let's see if we got rid of that. Okay, all the errors are cleared. Thank you for helping me do that. Now let's just console.log this just to see if it is what we expected, or we'll do console.table. So if people aren't, I think that's what Wes Boss does in his inside the video. Boom. So
Wow.
it's doing what we expected. It filtered down and the two people that I was expecting is showing up. So that's good. Let's comment that out and move on to the next one just to practice with. So now we're gonna practice map. Does anybody want to volunteer to do this one?
I can.
Map. Etienne, you're gonna jump in?
Sure.
Which one is this? Oh, this must be you. Boom. Okay, you're in.
Let me try. Oh yeah. There we go. So constant ordered inventors, I guess.
I
Right?
don't know, you can call it whatever you want.
I tend to make long burial names for some reason. So
Well, we're not doing the sort. We're doing the number 2. Give an array of the inventors' first
sorry.
and last names.
I'm doing the wrong one. So I'm doing the map one, right? Okay.
Yeah, number 2.
So let's go full name, right?
Yeah.
And to arrow function to do what? Gonna make a string literal, right?
What are you trying to do? Oh, yeah, that'll work.
Then I'm gonna need to go inventor. No. To go something.
So again, if you want to make it a little bit more concise, I would do destructuring.
Right. So here I would go. I'm not very good at destructuring. So what did you do before? So the bracket.
Just do curly braces.
Curly braces.
Yeah.
And then the keys that you want to pull out of the object.
I want to pull out.
So instead of writing inventor there, you put the keys that you want.
First name.
Right. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
want
first name space. Space. First name, comma, last name.
First name, is it with a?
No, it's just the word first.
It's just the word first.
And last.
And last. Yeah. Okay. So then I can just put up first there. And then do we want a comma in between?
No.
No.
Or if you, yeah.
It's up to you.
Space, maybe.
Yeah, maybe probably space makes more sense, I think.
Right. Yeah. And what are we gonna do after that?
Let's just console log it.
I think we're close.
So if you press Command S, it will automatically format the code as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe console.table. Right.
Sure. So your casing is wrong. Also,
Yeah.
it's plural because there's multiple names.
Correct.
Well, it just makes more sense as plural. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, maybe console.table is not that good for this one. Let's just do console.log.
Go.
Yep. So that looks good.
All grandstands.
All right. Does somebody want to volunteer to the next one to do sorting? Or before we go to the sorting, any questions about what we just did?
So I can speak it through just to recap. So we took all the inventors and then we destructured each object with the first and last name using a callback function, and we made a string literal of each of those in place. Well, it's creating a new array because it is mapped, but it will be the same length as the original array that was passed in the inventors.
Yeah, because map is just straight transformation.
Exactly.
You get the same amount of items that you had before. Its main purpose is to transform whatever item you're working with into something else. In our case, we had an array of objects and we're transforming it into an array of strings. And because maybe for this use case, whatever we were doing, we didn't need all the data. We didn't need the year they were born and when they died. So perfect use case for map. You just get rid of the data you won't want and just transform all the data into the shape that you do want.
And then within the string literal, the syntax is specific to React?
No,
this is
that's
all
JavaScript.
So what we're all just working with JavaScript. I kind of paused the React part and just because of time. I think we got a little bit of practice with React. So it seems like people need more practice with the actual array methods. So I decided to let's just focus on that part.
How much more complicated is this if you're pulling from a database rather than just a variable you created?
I mean, if you were to do an Axios call, like an API call, and you get JSON, you can map your results pretty much similarly with this.
Yeah.
You know, if you got JSON back from your backend server, you couldn't the way you would map it wouldn't be very much different.
It just requires more skills because that's another skill you need to know. You gotta know how to get data from APIs. If this was a backend application, like if we were working in Node.js, you gotta know how to query the database. So those are just all extra skills that you need. It depends how you want to get the data. So, I mean, it's always way easier if you just have a flat file like we have and you just have all the data. But there's trade-offs. Like what if there was 1 million people? You don't want to load 1 million people into the browser probably, right? So then you got to think of techniques like, is that payload too big? Like if the backend, if you're querying 1 million people, can you send it all in one request? You can look, it might be really big. And if it's too big, it's going to be slow. So there's techniques where you can do pagination, where you only get like 100 people at a time, 1,000 people at a time, or you can force the user to filter down to a specific subset before you fetch. There's all kinds of different techniques. Those are all the kind of things, trade-offs you have to consider when you're building applications.
It also matters like how your database is set up. Like if it's relational and you're trying to make like a connection between two tables, sometimes you need a joining table so that you don't have to search through huge amounts of records, and it would take a long time. So that joining table would join those two tables together, and it becomes like a hash table, so it can be accessed really fast by the database.
So there's like all kinds of things you got to consider. You can have a caching layer too, if it's
I don't know. What that is.
like you can use Redis as a caching layer, so then you can see if the data is kind of static, like it doesn't change, like it's just a historical record from all these people from long time ago. You can create a caching layer where you can just cache whatever request comes in, and if somebody makes the same request for the same data set, you don't need to query the database. You can just return, you just keep in memory. The first time it queried the database, got the result, sent it to the user. And the second time it's going to come in, it's going to be like, this is the same request for the same data. I already have it. And then they'll skip the database call and just send back the cache data, because that's much faster. Any database call is going to be like, it's going to take longer. So there's people, you only have to consider that when you're like optimizing for performance and stuff though. So in our simple use case, we don't have to do all that. I just wanted to mention that like there's all kinds of things you got to consider when you're building like real world applications. And that's why you break up the team into specializations if possible, if you have enough money, because it's hard for one person to have to like think about all this different stuff. Like it's easier if you just have somebody building the UI, somebody who's like optimizing all the database calls, somebody building the API endpoints, somebody like designing what it should look like on the page. That's why the team is broken up into like designer, front end, back end. Sometimes you even have people that specialize exactly in database optimization stuff. And that's why there's so many different roles when you get to bigger companies. It's like it's not common to find everybody to be full stack unless it's a super small startup and you don't have a choice, and people just gotta learn how to do everything. But it gets really hard when you're trying to scale. It's easier when you're just building an app and maybe you in your small startup, you don't have that much customers yet. But when you scale to like millions of people, you're gonna have all kinds of problems trying to scale up to that much people using the app. So at that point, it really helps for people to specialize and just get better at specific parts.
Hey Sam, since you mentioned Redis, is the caching going on in the server side or the client side?
It depends. Redis would be on the server side. So there's other caching techniques you could probably do. You could cache stuff just in memory in the browser. So if somebody already requested something, if it was expensive to like calculate that payload, you can just save it in memory in the browser, and then you can just when the like if your thing keeps re-rendering, instead of fetching it again, it can just grab it from wherever you saved it in memory. But you can use things, there's like libraries that just do that automatically for you. Like React Query is one that I like to use. It does a lot of the automatic caching and stuff for you. It's this website. There is also SWR is made by Vercel. I think it's similar to React Query, and it does a lot of the smart data fetching for you. So if you're using Next.js, these are the same people that made Next.js. It's a library for data fetching that handles a lot of the kind of stuff like caching, retries, like it will retry the request automatically. I think you can set it up so that like if it failed for some reason, like the internet dropped out or something, it can, like a request can fail for all kinds of different reasons. These libraries like help you to retry and stuff. So yeah, well, I wasn't paying attention to the chat. Some people are typing in the chat. Somebody wanted to learn React. Yeah, sorry, it's hard we're in a group when we're in a group because like everybody's at different levels. It's not like we're in a cohort and everybody's at the same level. So sorry, Sujan. I know where I said we are gonna do React. We can maybe fit in a little bit of React unless people have any questions about all that stuff that I was just talking about.
I just want to say thank you. I appreciate the bullets because now I can take the kind of points you gave me and I can research on my own and come back. So thank you, Sam. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so somebody's working on the sort. Etienne's
Oh.
getting to work already. Thanks.
Well, you know, there's a problem in front, so.
Okay.
Sam, you
and-
could like, Sam, you could like set state and then maybe just like set up a change handler and like
okay.
real
Yeah.
quick if you want to with like the button in there, that might be cool.
Yeah,
to
let's
see.
mix it up. Let's mix it up. Let's do some
not?
React too.
Let's get crazy. Get crazy with React.
Let's let Etienne finish this
I'm almost there. I got
this
a lot
sort,
of jokes, so.
and then let's hook up the filtered investors to like a button. So
Yeah. Is that an entry rate?
But-
That's a
should I do
weird
the-
looking.
yeah, just do the table.
Right. It's gonna take you.
Like we'll-
Is it right?
Let's see. It looks like it at a quick glance. It looks like it's
Yeah,
going.
going up.
better.
Yeah, it looks good. Okay. All right.
But
set up
actually,
states.
actually, I think it was already in order. Like
Was
the
it?
data's are. I think it was.
Okay. Well, then let's reverse sort.
Oh yeah, that's what this thing is telling you. It's telling you to sort it from oldest to youngest.
Whoops.
So
So from oldest, right? It's telling me oldest, which is the ones that's born the longest ago, which is the smallest numbers.
oh yeah, yeah. So it already is. Let's just leave it then. And
Yeah.
Sujan posed a sorry, is that I wonder if I'm saying your name right. I'm terrible. I can't even say normal words correctly, let alone people's names. So sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. So unfortunately, I don't have the whole night, so we can't just progress through the whole app, but let's do a little bit of React since I can go a little bit past 9, but let's see. Does anybody want to try and do the React part? Like, I want to just hook up a button that says filter, and when you click the filter button, it only shows the filtered inventors. Does somebody want to attempt to try and do that part?
I can type it in if you tell me what to do. What to
You
write,
wanna-
because I don't know
um,
React, so if you tell me what to.
Let me do it then, because we don't, in the sake of time, because
Sure.
it's almost 9 o'clock already, and I don't want the recording to be like super long either. Okay, so let's do some state. So let's just do is filtered. It's filtered. Okay. And then we'll do this. Actually, let's do this. Okay, I got an idea. So let's put this back. Let's put this outside as like our default set. Default enters. I'm just making it like this is. Now let's do initial inventors. And then we'll start this with, and it needs the use state because I gotta import it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna start with is filtered. So let's just make sure we got that part. I'm gonna comment out all this stuff just so for now. That was some good practice, but then let's do initial. Oh no, we can do this. Shit. Do this. So now we're back to where we were. And we're gonna put a button, and when we click the button, we're gonna update the state to include the filtered investors. So I'm gonna make 2 buttons, one that says like filter and one that says clear. So maybe just above, like we don't need to make it fancy. Button filter, button clear. Okay, we got these 2 buttons. There's just don't need to be nice, but at least have a little space. Oh, how come that didn't work? Let's see. There you go. So when I click this filter button, I'm gonna filter all the inventors. So we need an on-click handler so that on this button, when we click the button, we're gonna say, when this button is clicked, let's do set inventors to filtered inventors. Okay, let's see what happens. Boom, it filtered it. And now I want to do on click here, and then I'll stop and then let people ask questions if I went too fast, because I'm kind of trying to speed up since we're like, it's 9 o'clock already. Inventors to initial. Okay, now when I click clear, I get the whole list. When I click filter, I get only the filtered inventors. Okay, any questions? I just sped right through that.
So set inventors, is that like you making that up, or is that an actual method?
So when you use state returns the current state of whatever the state is, and it returns a setter function. So if you ever want to update the state of your whatever thing it is inside of your functional component, you call the setter with the value, and then the component will re-render, and the new value will be stored in this variable.
So it's kind of like current to next kind of thing. Current value, next value, like.
Well, anytime you change state, then you affect the DOM. So
right.
when you initialize state, so there's that. And then when you click the button, then you're changing state, which then changes the DOM.
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm saying.
React updates the DOM for you. So because React is declarative, right? So you declare what you want it to look like, and then whenever you change the state or whenever the props change, we don't have any props in this component. Anytime state or
it's like a live re-render. It just keeps re-rendering live as any time there's a change.
It's like the first
Yeah.
value is the data, and the second value is the thing that changes the first value.
Right,
It's
that's
the
what I'm
set,
saying.
it's
Like
the setter, it's the updater function.
it's like you have the current value, and then you have the next value, the updated value, or whatever.
You don't though. You only have one value.
Yeah, the
Every
other
time you render, it's
Yeah, but I mean,
whenever-
like in your variables there, you have two, right? You have two arguments. You have the argument of what it is. Is that not two arguments, or is that a top? Like that's a list of two things, though.
yeah. So you get you only get the current value, and you
Right.
get an updater function. There is no current.
Oh,
and
that's a
next.
callback function.
It's a updater function. So whenever you want to update it, you call that function with a value. And when you
Okay.
do that, it updates the value. Internally is keeping track of
So
like
right,
React's doing
it
that
doesn't
behind the
call it
scenes.
until you click, until there's an event. It's not called, and then it's called, and then it updates. Makes sense.
basically
It doesn't have to be like that. That's just how I implemented it.
Okay.
I said when you can call this setter function wherever you want. I just did it because it makes sense. Like I only wanted to update the data when you click the button. So I put it in the on click callback.
But if it was like another type of function that wasn't an event-based function, it could continuously update it. A bit like that CSS clock we were updating continuously.
So it would probably explode because it would be like an infinite loop, I think. Like if you just put set inventors here, I don't want to do it because it might just blow up the page. It would update the value. Every time it rendered, it would just keep updating the value.
Is it rendering, like keep rendering at like a certain pace, or like what time of clock is it using to continuously render?
I don't think it uses a clock. I don't know how React implements the rendering cycle.
I heard it keeps track of the first value of the set state, basically the data. Anytime the data changes, it re-renders.
But they do it intelligently too. They like if you have a bunch of setters that are called, it will, from what I understand, it will batch together a bunch of. It's possible that it will batch together a bunch of set commands, and then re-render. Not do set render the next set render the next set render. If you call like set, it will batch all those calls into the next render. From what I understand. But like I said, I've never dug deep into the internals of React.
So you'd basically like use it like if you could re-render something, if it's the Boolean value of an if statement is what you want, or you could re-render it in a loop that has a limit of how many, like so you get what you want, or how? What am I understanding this correctly? Or?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Could you say that again?
So set inventors, like you're saying, you can use it anytime, right? It doesn't have to be on an on click. So you would use it, say, like when you wanted to change something in the DOM with a new value, you could use it in like a Boolean structure, like an if then, or you could use it in a loop, and that has an end, like that has some kind of exit. Is that how you would use it, or how do you typically use it?
Like this, because I'm not sure why you would do it like what you did. Because if it's like a if else, you would process that. You could just do that outside of here, right? Like if I don't know, or if there was
But when you wanted to
I would have to
update,
use a use case. I can't think of it like why you would do like if else on render and then immediately call set inventors. That I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to see a specific use case. Maybe what you're thinking about, I can't see it.
I might not be explaining it well, but like you want to re-render a part of your page, right? Okay, that's the goal.
Do you want to try and
Start.
type out? Do you have a specific? I will understand it if you can like type it out and like show
Sure.
me.
Sorry, I have a screen that disconnected, so it's a little hard to navigate. But okay.
So you guys gotta run. See everybody next week. Thank you.
Okay, later.
Just trying to see where it is now. Yeah. Yeah, I can't really think of an exact case, so I guess I'll have to read about it a little more in the docs.
Yeah, because like I'm not sure. You mean usually you want to update what's on the screen based on user interaction, right? Like so.
That or change in data, right?
Clicking
from the back. Right. On user
if you're
interaction.
changing data, you wouldn't be using this state then. You're probably just be coming in as props. Or it depends. Like, I don't know, it can be a lot of different things. That's why I would need to see a specific example to be like what you're thinking. But like normally it has to do with user interaction. You know, you type something in and then it changes.
Yeah, you're
like
responding.
Like if I wanted to filter by first name, I could add an input. And then as the user types, I could filter out the results based on what they type. And the state I would keep is whatever their filter query is. That's like one example. But like I wanted to keep it simple, so I didn't add in the input, even though that's like a more common thing, right? Like you have an input and then you filter whatever data's on the page. I just wanted to make use of the filter function that we already made.
Yeah, I mean, it's great because that's the part that I don't know, you know, like how to use React, like the state and the hooks. So the actual JavaScript is okay, you know. But,
so yeah. Sorry, these meetups are like kind of already, I should put that on the meetup page. It's already assuming like you already know how to use React. I wasn't planning on like teaching React from the ground up because these exercises already require like basic understanding of like how to use hooks and React components and stuff like that. So I'll add that to the meetup. Because like otherwise we would never get through like the hour to explain it from React the ground up, because you have to learn a lot of fundamentals in React. Well, you got to learn JavaScript first. And then you got to learn React like fundamentals like state and props and
I have not done that part of the curriculum yet. So
hooks, like those are like the basic building blocks of and then how JSX works and all that kind of stuff. And then and then these exercises are kind of just transforming Wes Boss's exercises. Instead of doing it in vanilla, we're doing it with React. But like I say, we're not gonna always get through the whole exercise. Like tonight, we're not gonna do the whole thing. You can like finish it up on your own if you want. And then people that are not in our Slack, did I already post the Slack? Yeah, I have our Slack in there. You can always just ask questions in there. We have like 500 people almost in our Slack. So that's probably the best place to ask questions. I can make a new channel in the Slack too for React30.
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting. I am really curious about that Slack channel. So will it be posted in the chat?
Oh, yeah, I posted it. I'll post it again.
Okay. Well, I apologize if I didn't read through the chat properly. But to be honest, Sam, I'm really enjoying your seminar. So I would say I would consider myself to be a beginner. I don't how can I best put this? I know bits and pieces of what we've been looking at, but I would in no way call myself, code ready, I guess.
Yeah, it's a lot. And
Indeed.
But I mean, like, even when you know JavaScript, like I know the fundamentals, vanilla JavaScript. If you don't know React, like the fundamentals of React, that's what these, usually I prefer to watch, but nobody was volunteering to type. So
yeah,
I
we
did,
had
but,
we had a quiet group tonight.
that's the point of is to learn what are hooks and what state and how do you use that,
Sorry, Sam, I can type next time.
Actually, I'd be delighted to type if that's okay. I just obviously you guys know the code way better than I do. I mean, I've heard these terms, and I'm not being what's the word? I'm not trying to be flippant. No way am I being flippant. But just tonight, I think what was the term? Oh gosh, a word of advice, guys: don't go old, grow old. Don't grow old. What was the term? Oh
Destructuring?
gosh. Well,
Is
right.
that the
I
term
asked about the destructuring, but tell you what, can anybody raise that the code up a little bit? It's the words in capitals and they're in orange. That's that was new to me. Yeah, initial inventors and set inventors. I think you called setters. Is that what you used? Is that the term that was used?
Yeah, I'm just calling it that. I don't know if that's it's a set method, so I just call it a setter. I'm not sure if that's the official terminology that React uses. I forget.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I just know it's convention to say set for that function, for those types of functions, like set for the thing for the state, or whatever. Yeah.
Well, either way, I just want to say thank you for showing it to me. I'm very grateful to receive this information. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And then the videos, I've been putting them up on my YouTube channel. Sorry, our videos are all over the place because we do the AMAs with Brady, and we had been putting them up on Brady's YouTube. And then I only recently started doing these other meetups, and Brady's not here, so I just put it on my YouTube channel, so we don't have a central place for all our videos. So I've been uploading the recordings on my channel, but you can always just come in our Slack and just ask if you forget. But I'm not sure. I try to get it up the next day, but I mean, YouTube, I do a little bit of editing. I usually chop off the ending part, or just to make it shorter, because sometimes it's super long. And YouTube takes forever to process the video. It takes hours. So I just need to get around to doing that. And it depends if I'm tired from work, if I'm gonna do it. So I try to get it up on Mondays, but it seems feels like I've just been doing things nonstop since I started working again. So
don't burn yourself out, Sam.
It's just all day, every day, talking to people, being in Slack, hacking on stuff. So I'll get around to it when I figure out.
As
Code Sandbox links. Oh, sorry. Somebody, Ekaterina, hopefully I say that right again. Code Sandbox links. I've been posting it on the meetup page. So I've been posting the video and the Code Sandbox links on the meetup page in the comments. So for today, I usually go back to the comments for the meetup from today and post the links back there. And then, but again, you can always just come to the Slack and just ask, and somebody will, if I'm not there, hopefully somebody else has the links. But
it's true that it's hard to type and talk at the same time. Like when I was typing that function, I was like, I can't explain it. Like my mind is busy.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Take some practice. You know.
I have a hard. That's why I can't even. That's why sometimes it doesn't make sense what I'm typing, because like you have to like your brain needs to like talk and like think about what you want to write and write all at the same time. So yeah.
I guess if it was really second nature, you know, but
nah, it's hard. Somebody is saying something?
I was saying it's you're getting nervous when someone's watching you.
Maybe, yeah, it's probably that too. But also just like just trying to talk and type and think about what you're gonna do at the same time. Because you're also trying to solve the problem, you know, when you're like typing it, because people are watching you. So you're trying to think about the answer in real time, but also like speak about what you're doing. So
it's like I've been typing Python now for like a month and a half. So I was looking at it going, okay, this I'm gonna do a comprehension. No, I'm in JavaScript, so it's math. You know? So like even then my mind, I had to switch like what language today.
Yeah. For me it's a little easy.
Comprehension.
For me it's easier because I just write JavaScript all day, every day. I just stick with one language. It's too hard to jump around. I did Ruby before and Python and stuff, and now I just do pretty much 100% just JavaScript. Or
just curious.
TypeScript
I apologize.
Too.
Pardon me for interrupting, Sam. Just a little curious. A couple of folks mentioned Python. I'm curious, how could Python and Ruby interact with each other? I've never tried it. I have no idea if it can be done. I'm guessing it can, but as I look at all of this, I'm asking myself, well, if Python had to interact with Ruby, with React, how would the Python file be able to read the data that we're looking at, or how would React access this data if it had to go through Python?
You can't. It has to be a separate server. Python works only on the backend. It doesn't work in the browser. So you have different services. Usually you make a microservice architecture, and each service, the reason why microservice architecture became popular is because it just made it easier to modularize. Like if this team likes working with Python, or maybe because Python is better to do exactly what that service does, then they write it in Python, and they just create an API that you can just access that service with, and then your React application will just communicate through the API that you set up for that service. You can make another Ruby one, Ruby on Rails. You can make a Golang one. You can do whatever. So like when I worked at Lyft, they had like hundreds of services that you could like communicate with. So
basically it's just that the APIs will be feeding JSON. So you'll be calling from the servers can be whatever, right?
It doesn't necessarily have to be JSON though.
I mean, it could be another, yeah, it's true.
It can be.
What else? There's like the older format, or not older, but XML.
A lot of
not XML.
Yeah, there's SOAP, I think, and there's the older, and there's gRPC is really popular now, which communicates using protobufs. That's more for services that communicate machine-to-machine communication on the back end. A lot of them use gRPC now that Google made that, and it's a real what do you call? I can't even think of words right now. My brain's not working. It's it's an efficient way to transfer data between each other. So not condensed. What do you call it? Compressed data format.
conceptually though, basically is Python stays on the back end. You can serve up HTML from the back end if you wanted to, but mostly it will be the API endpoints that React will, or JS, the front end will hit for data.
Yeah.
Right.
So the most popular API to set up is like a REST API, but GraphQL is also super popular.
REST is only really a structure. It's not like it's an agreed upon structure.
It's a convention.
Exactly.
A way to set up your endpoints.
Yeah.
But like
I had to build one
during the past couple of years, like GraphQL has gained a lot of popularity because Facebook made that.
What's the difference?
Like generally, if you have like Facebook made it because like they have scaling problems, right? Facebook has the most users of like on the planet, they had billions of users. So they needed to figure out a way to efficiently get data. It was hard, like they have a front page, and if you have REST, but you need users and you need activities and all kinds of stuff, then they got to make like 100 REST calls to get all the data they need, even though in that endpoint, they only need like a small part of that payload. So they're requesting like 100 things or like this huge payload. Then they got to combine all the data and massage it into the shape that they actually need just to show like the user's profile on the page. So they made GraphQL to solve that problem, because GraphQL can be like, you define the schema, you tell it exactly what data you need, and it just goes and gets exactly the data you need instead of returning.
You don't have to like build relationships.
You just make one call to get the data you need, instead of your 100 REST API calls, come back, throw away all the data you don't need, and then just render the data that you needed. So GraphQL.
That's why they were saying like sometimes it's better to make like a straight connection between tables than to try to use a relationship, because the relationship will look at everything, go through everything instead of just directly to what you need.
You're going like a level deeper though. This is at a higher level. So you're at like a database optimization level, which is a different level than what like GraphQL and stuff is solving. GraphQL is solving the problem where in your front end, you're just requesting too much data. So that's different, because you wanna, especially people with mobile phones like React, like people might not have a lot of data. If you're requesting a lot of data, you're sending too much data over the pipe. You're using all that poor person's bandwidth when they don't even need all that data. So GraphQL solves that problem as well. Like there's less.
So what you're saying is instead of, say you needed to hit like.
Databases don't go over the wire. That data doesn't go over the wire, your database query. That happens on the server.
Right.
So GraphQL solves the problem of reducing the amount of data that goes over the wire between the client and the server.
So I get it now. Basically, if you were going to build your page and your user profile or whatever, and you need to hit like 100 different endpoints, then that would be a long time. Like you'd have to resolve all that. But if you had it batched into one query where it just gets exactly what you need in return, it's one call instead of 100 calls, right?
Yeah.
Is what you're saying?
I mean, there's a lot of trade-offs, yeah, but like that's one reason why people would use GraphQL. But then there are trade-offs, like it's easier to set up REST APIs. Everybody already knows REST. It's easier to learn REST. And then GraphQL has its own problems, It could be not performant the way it's getting the data. It makes it easy to understand, because GraphQL, you set up these schemas so that everybody, you can just look at the schema and there's like a playground and stuff too. So it's easy to learn how to use the API. Like the schema can just serve as the documentation. With REST, you got to use tools like Swagger and stuff like that to like document how to use the REST API and stuff like that. So there's a lot of trade-offs. I haven't really used GraphQL too much. I mostly use REST APIs. At Lyft, we did have GraphQL, a bunch of services that we could use GraphQL, but it still wasn't fully complete, so I couldn't get everything. So most of the time I just use REST, and I just use REST services. And once in a while I had to communicate with gRPC services, and then I had to like convert the binary data into JSON. So
is there a parser for that?
There's all kinds of tools, but it's like Lyft built like some tools to do that kind of stuff. But like the libraries were really heavy. So it's better to do those kind of things on the back end. You got to make like another server just to like
for that
proxy the request. So you send the request through the back end. It requests the data with gRPC, comes back through your proxy server, converts the binary data into JSON, and then send it to your front end. So you might need an extra layer.
How does MongoDB fit into that? Is it more similar to GraphQL, where it's non-relational and there's a whole other way? Do you know?
What is that?
MongoDB, is it more like yes, the GraphSQL or GraphQL, like you're talking about, because it's not relational.
No, GraphQL is not a database.
It's an optimizer, correct? Right. It's a request optimizer, right?
Yeah, you keep going like a level deeper.
Yeah, I know. I think that's because I've been in databases for a month. But
like GraphQL queries databases, like you have to make.
It's like an ORM, right? Or
Sujan, he wrote a tutorial on it, so he probably knows know more about it than me.
All right, I'll take it. I'll actually listen to that. It's interesting.
Yeah, I
query language for your API.
I know high level how GraphQL works,
So
but I haven't used it too much, so I don't know. But yeah, it's not a database. I don't know if it's considered an ORM either, because it's not really an ORM.
It's not either, yeah.
Prisma is like the most popular ORM now, I think, for JavaScript stuff. I think so. I haven't used it that much either. I'm a front-end developer, so I don't know too much. I just hang out on Twitter, so I just know that these things are all popular.
As a front-end developer, like where does the line end usually? Like when do you pass on like what you build to backend, or when do you wait for backend to give you data to play with? Like how's the separation of duties? Or is it like gray?
It all depends. It depends on a million different things. There's no answers for these kind of questions. It depends on your team. It depends on the project you're working on. It depends what you're doing. It depends like how busy you are. You can do it in any order. So you have to discuss with your team like how you want to do it. Sometimes I will just build out the components in like Storybook and stuff, and I'll just use fake data in a shape that's easy for me to work with, and then I'll share that shape with the backend person who's making the API, and then they might come back and say, oh, it's really expensive to get the data like into this shape. Then you have to like talk to the designer to see if you can come with the UX to make it so that you don't need all that data to render the page, and then you need an extra step so that the user needs to like filter how much data they need, like to a specific day rather than the whole history stuff. So it takes the whole team. You'll have to like collaborate with everybody. It's like collaborate with the designer to come up with UX tricks to like figure out how to make the user still happy and not be mad that like they just don't get everything on the screen because it might be too expensive to get all the expensive meaning like
not
time, money,
in O, in like big O notation time.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can build the API first, and then the front end developer can start working on it, or you can build the front end first and then work backwards, or you can just do it at the same time. You can do all kinds of different tools.
I'm doing kind of doing both, you know. So,
you can just
so I'm kind of doing both right now. So I'm just trying to figure out.
You can write
fixtures.
tests, like you can use Cypress.js to just use fixtures, and it doesn't actually hit the API. It's just saying whenever you hit this endpoint, it returns this static data.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you can have something to consume and test against. Is that how? Yeah. That's what fixtures are. They're used for test. I just made an association there.
Yeah, I usually commit the fixtures into the code base because sometimes you need fixtures for writing like integration tests. Sometimes even in your unit tests, you can use fixtures if the data structure is super big. And sometimes you want to develop, and it's quicker to just not use the API. Like at Lyft, it took forever to spin up. If I wanted to like actually develop with real services and develop, like my computer would struggle sometimes. There was like so much stuff that it needs to start up. So it's just quicker to, like, if I just want to use React and just boot up the React app, I just not turn on all the services and just
use the fixture data.
I just mock out the API requests. Like the poor way to mock out the request is just to go to where your Axios call is, or whatever library fetch or whatever you're using, comment it out, and you just do promise.resolve your fixture, and it returns that. And then when you're done developing, you just put it back.
Perfect.
And you don't commit the code. I do that a lot of times because otherwise you have to set up all kinds of tooling.
Yeah.
I think there's one called Bubble or something like that, where when you boot up your app, it can like intercept the API calls, external calls, and return specific data. I think it's called Bubble. I forget. But there's all kinds of
an equivalent
like
in Python, as well.
But yeah, it's getting